My name is Madeline Pierce. And if you told me 10 years ago that I'd be sitting in a glass-walled corner office, looking down at the very street my cousin once stole my home from, I would have laughed through my tears. This morning, the city looks almost unreal. The sunlight bounces off polished cars, the hum of traffic rises like a steady heartbeat, and in the distance, I can see the row of houses on Alder Street. His house, the one he took from me, still stands there. But what he doesn't know is that the pavement beneath it, the storefront surrounding it, and the entire stretch of road, it's mine now. I adjust the sleeve of my silk blouse, smooth and cool against my skin, and catch my reflection in the window. Red lipstick, steady eyes, hair pulled back into a sleek knot. I look composed, powerful, but only I know the scars beneath this calm surface. The vibration of my phone slices through the silence. A message. From him. We need to talk. It's urgent. My stomach tightens, but I smile faintly. For years, he thought he won. For years, he thought I was powerless. But today, he's reaching out to me, on my terms in my world. And maybe that's the sweetest irony of all. I wasn't always this woman with polished heels and a skyline view. Once, I was just a 20-year-old girl standing on the porch of my childhood home with trembling hands, watching my cousin Ethan Miller wave a stack of papers in my face like a victory flag. "This isn't your house anymore, Claire," he sneered. His voice carried the arrogance of someone who thought family loyalty was just another thing he could buy. I remember my throat closing up, my palms slick with sweat as I gripped the wooden railing. My parents were gone by then. That house was all I had left of them. The creaking stairs, the garden my mother planted, the faint pencil marks on the kitchen wall where she tracked my height year after year. But Ethan didn't care. He had lawyers, money, and the kind of shameless charm that made people believe him. Through some twisted paperwork and pressure when I was still grieving, he took the deed. Legally. Coldly. I begged him once, just once. "Please, Ethan, this is my home." My voice cracked, but I refused to let the tears fall in front of him. He shrugged. "Then you should have fought harder. Business is business." That was the night I walked away with nothing but a single suitcase and the silver locket my grandmother had given me. Inside it was a photo of her as a young woman, and her words echoed in my memory. "Don't measure your worth by what you lose, Claire. Measure it by what you build." The stars blurred as I stumbled down the street with no destination. I felt stripped bare, humiliated, and betrayed by blood. But beneath the ache, something hard began to form. A vow. I promised myself I would never again beg anyone for a roof, for safety, or for love. I would build something so unshakable that no cousin, no betrayal, no man in a tailored suit could ever take it away. And that night, under the dim glow of a street lamp, with the cool metal of the locket pressed against my palm, I whispered to myself, "This isn't the end. This is the start." The first months after losing my house felt like stumbling through a storm without an umbrella. I rented a shoebox apartment above a laundromat, the kind where the pipes rattled at night and the wallpaper peeled like old skin. Every evening, the smell of detergent mixed with fried food from the diner below. I'd sit on the creaky bed, locket in my hand, reminding myself that starting from nothing didn't mean ending with nothing. I worked 2 jobs at first, day shifts at a bookstore, night shifts waiting tables. I kept my head down, but I also kept my ears open. That's how I met Margaret Holloway, a regular at the diner. She was the kind of woman who carried herself like she owned every room she walked into, sharp suits, a quick smile, and an aura of quiet authority. One night, after I refilled her coffee, she asked, "You always this sharp with numbers?" I blinked, confused. She nodded toward my notepad. I'd been calculating totals without ever touching the register. That small observation changed my life. Margaret was a real estate broker, seasoned, respected, and for reasons I still don't fully understand, she saw potential in me. She offered me a part-time assistant job, filing contracts, answering phones, shadowing her at open houses. It wasn't glamorous. I stapled until my fingers blistered, carried boxes of brochures heavier than I was, and made more coffee than I care to remember. But I watched. I listened. I learned. Real estate was a battlefield, but it fascinated me. The rhythm of negotiations, the way one sharp move could turn a crumbling house into an investment goldmine. And slowly, painfully, I realized I could do more than just survive. I could thrive. The first turning point came when Margaret let me pitch a property to a small client. My voice shook at first, my hands sweaty against the glossy brochure. But I pushed through, channeling every ounce of determination that had carried me since Ethan pushed me out of my own home. The client signed. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was mine. My first real win. That night, I bought myself takeout Chinese and sat cross-legged on my bed, eating straight from the carton. It tasted like victory. From there, doors cracked open. I studied at night, taking certification courses with money I scraped together. I faced skepticism, raised eyebrows, even outright condescension. A young woman in real estate? To many, I was just a secretary with lipstick. But I fought harder. I learned to negotiate contracts, to walk into rooms full of men twice my age, and make them listen. My heels blistered, my bank account stayed thin for years, and more than once, I cried myself to sleep. But every morning, I woke up and pressed my grandmother's locket to my chest before stepping back into the grind. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, my life began to change. The girl who lost her home was gone. In her place, a woman was rising, one deal, one late night, one brick at a time. The morning Ethan showed up at my office, the city skyline was painted in gold. My assistant, Jenna, poked her head into the door. "Claire, there's a Mr. Miller here to see you." For a moment, the name tightened my chest. Miller. Ethan. The boy who stole my home. The man who thought I'd stay powerless forever. "Send him in," I said, my voice steady. The glass doors opened, and there he was. His suit was crisp, but his face carried the weight of desperation. Lines etched deeper than they should have for a man his age. He looked around, eyes darting across the room. The mahogany desk, the oil painting I'd chosen myself, the shelves lined with books and photos. "Claire," he said, forcing a smile. "You've done well for yourself." I leaned back in my chair, crossing one leg over the other. "Better than you expected, I suppose." He shifted uncomfortably, his gaze snagging on the framed photo of me shaking hands with Margaret Holloway at my first major development ribbon cutting. He swallowed. "I need help. The market things aren't going well. Banks are circling. I might lose the house." The house. My house. I felt the silk of my blouse against my skin as I folded my arms. "The one you took from me?" His jaw clenched. "Business is business. You know that." A bitter laugh slipped out. "Yes, Ethan. I learned that lesson well." He tried to recover. "But you're successful now. Maybe you could bail me out. Buy me some time. You've got money, right?" I rose from my chair and walked toward the window. The city stretched beneath us, a living map of every battle I had fought. I pointed toward the familiar block in the distance. "Do you see Alder Street?" He followed my finger, squinting. "Yeah, I own it." His head snapped toward me. "What?" "The block. Every storefront. Every rental. Every inch of pavement. Including the ground under your precious house." I turned, meeting his stunned eyes. "So no, Ethan, I won't be bailing you out. In fact," I paused, savoring the silence stretching between us. "You'll be paying me." His face drained of color. You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm very serious." My heels clicked softly against the marble floor as I closed the distance between us. "You taught me once that business is business. And business, Ethan, is about power. About ownership. You took my house. I built an empire. And now, I don't just have a roof over my head, I own the street beneath yours." For the first time in his life, Ethan was speechless. His lips parted, closed, then opened again. "Claire, I didn't think." "No." I cut him off, my voice sharp but calm. "You didn't think I'd rise. You thought I'd crumble. That girl you pushed out into the night with nothing but a suitcase? She's gone. The woman standing in front of you doesn't beg for scraps. She writes contracts. She builds skylines. She sets the rules. He looked at me like a man staring at a ghost. But I was no ghost. I was the reckoning he never saw coming. Ethan sat down across from me, shoulders slumped, the confident smirk I remembered long gone. For years, he had the upper hand. Now, the silence between us was his undoing. Finally, he muttered, "So, what happens now? Do you just take everything?" I tilted my head, studying him. I could. That's the irony. But Ethan, I'm not here to crush you. I'm here to remind you what you tried to crush in me. His eyes flicked up, confused. I leaned forward, my voice low but firm. I will let you stay in that house for now. But you will pay rent.
To me.
Fair market rent. And it won't stop there. He opened his mouth to argue, but I raised a hand. Listen carefully because these are my conditions. First, you will stop hiding behind excuses. No more blaming the market, the economy, or bad luck. You own your choices. Second, you will contribute to the community you've drained for years. I want to see investments in the neighborhood, local businesses, schools, shelters. I'll know if you don't. His face tightened, but I pressed on. Third, you will acknowledge what you did.
To me.
To our family. You will admit it wasn't just business. It was betrayal. And you will apologize, not for my sake, but for your own. Until you face that truth, you'll never grow. For a moment, he just stared at me, jaw working as if the words were too heavy to swallow. "You're serious," he whispered.
Deadly.
I stood, smoothing the fabric of my blouse, feeling the weight of my grandmother's locket against my chest. You see, Ethan, power isn't about taking. It's about building. You took something that wasn't yours and thought you'd won. I built something from nothing, and that's why I stand here today. He rubbed his forehead, defeated. And if I don't agree? I smiled faintly. Then the bank takes your house, and I buy it at auction. Either way, Ethan, the outcome is mine to decide. For the first time, he didn't argue. He just nodded, slowly, as if realizing he was no longer the one writing the rules. In that moment, I felt a strange mixture of triumph and sadness. He had stolen so much from me, years of struggle, nights of hunger, tears shed into a cheap pillow. And yet, here I was, not tearing him down, but giving him a path forward. On my terms. Because true power, I realized, wasn't about revenge. It was about choice. And I was finally the one choosing. Weeks passed before Ethan's first rent check arrived in my office. When Jenna slid the envelope across my desk, I hesitated before opening it. Inside was a neat stack of bills, the amount exact. No shortcuts, no excuses. Along with it, a handwritten note. I don't know if I can ever undo what I did, but I'm trying.
E.
I sat back in my chair, locket warm against my chest, and for the first time in years, I believed him. Little by little, change began to ripple outward. Ethan started attending community meetings, even sponsoring a renovation for the park where we'd played as kids. My aunt, who once sided with him in silence, came to see me. She stood awkwardly in my office, eyes downcast, before whispering, "I should have defended you, Claire. I was wrong." Her voice cracked, and for a moment, the bitterness I'd carried threatened to rise. But instead I nodded. Acknowledging it is the first step. As I walked the streets I now owned, I saw children riding bikes, families shopping in stores I had invested in, neighbors greeting each other in front of freshly painted homes. The street didn't just belong to me, it thrived because of me. At night, I'd sit by my window, city lights flickering like fireflies, and I would hold my grandmother's locket. Her words echoed as if carried on the wind. "Don't measure your worth by what you lose, Claire. Measure it by what you build." I thought of the girl I once was, the one with shaking hands and tear-streaked cheeks, clutching a single suitcase as she walked away from everything she knew. She would never have believed this future. But I built it.
Piece by piece.
And when people ask me now how I survived betrayal, how I turned pain into power, I smile and answer simply. My cousin took my house. But I built more than a home. I built a street, a legacy, and now he lives on my terms.